it's Kira, and I am back for a one-time only special event. I am part of the Ton Stamps YouTube hop, so I resurrected my channel for this video for you guys. So I'm using these new stamps here, and they're a layered stamp from the Ton, and they're huge. You guys, do you see the stamp set? It's like 8.5 by 11, I believe, is the size of the stamp set. I mean, they're gigantic, but they're super cool. You do like the leaves, and then the flowers connect to some of the leaves, and then there's a die that goes over all of them. But I'm gonna leave in all of the stamping part because I want, if you want to see how they're done, how to use them, then you can watch this. But if you've already seen enough of these videos so far, like if this is the last channel you're stopping by, and you don't want to see how the stamps are used, go ahead and skip through like half of this video, because like half of this video is stamping, and then you'll get right into me making the scrapbook layout. But I am going to leave in the stamping part because I think that if you're unfamiliar with these stamps, it shows you how to use them. So I'm starting with my leaves because I think it's easier to do the leaves first. And I'm using 3 different colors because there's 3 layers to the stamp. So I have got like a light green, a medium green, and a dark green. You can see the stamp brand I'm using and the colors. Hopefully you can see on your screen if you're interested in the stamp or the ink colors. Now I'm going to go ahead and stamp on the flowers. So the way that these stamps work is there's like these little blocks, so you can see like little rectangles, and those line up together. So you can see that there's some of those little rectangles and squares are on the flowers stamp, and they were also on the leaf stamp. So you just line those up and stamp them down just like so. So it's really only important that the ink gets on those, like your first set of rectangles. I guess that's the best way to describe them. It's only really important that you get ink on those because the next ones you're just using to like line up. So you don't necessarily need to like ink up those pieces every time. So now I'm doing my flowers. I'm doing some blues for the actual flower itself. And then I'm gonna do some yellow in the centers. And I did cut out a piece of this where I went back. I didn't think that this middle color, I didn't think it got dark enough. So I went back and I re-stamped it. So you'll see like in the final flowers, it'll be a little bit darker than this, and that's just because I went back and re-stamped it after the fact. And then the final color will be my darkest blue, and I just line that up with the guides, put on my ink, and stamp it down. I suppose you could use these stamps if you didn't have a stamp platform, but it would be a lot more difficult to do. So I do recommend, if you're using these layered stamps like this, that you get a stamp platform. And I use the Tim Holtz one. It works just fine. I'm sure the Misty's work great too. I've never used those. I just have the Tim Holtz stamp platform, and it works perfect. Okay, so now there's these little centers that you can put in your flowers. You don't have to. You could leave them blank too. I think they would look fine. And so I just set those in the centers, inked them up, and voila, they're done. Beautiful, beautiful flowers. So I'm gonna put the die on top, and you'll see the die just lines up perfectly with those. And I'm gonna put it on there with some washi tape there. But then I'm going to do some more stamping because I have some other stamps and dies that I want to use. So I'll just run my die machine one time, and that'll make it easier. So these are another die from the Ton stamps, and it's an alpha die. And then there's these border stamps that work really well with these. And there might be an easier way to do this. This is the easiest way that I found to do it. So it worked well for me. I just marked down like where the bottom of each alpha line went, and then I'll show you why in a minute, because there's these, yeah, I just want to make sure that I've got my placement right there. And then I'm gonna lay my stamp down, and these stamps are like it's kind of like a little like confetti like gradient, so it goes like darker to lighter. So you could do them either way. You could go darker on the bottom or darker on top, but I went darker on the bottom and then up to less. So those, every mark that I marked, that's just telling me where to set the stamp down, so I get the placement right. Then when I get those all stamped out, I'm going to lay my die on top and just make sure that I'm right where I need to be. This is not the first time I've tried these, and I will tell you that my first like 2 or 3 times that I did it did not turn out great, so I just wanted to make sure that I didn't have to redo this. So now I ran it through my die machine, and I'm just gonna go ahead and peel these dies up so you can see how beautiful those all are. Aren't those awesome? I'm obsessed with these. I'll be using these so much because I just love them. So those are the flowers and the little leaves. And then here's my alpha, which turned out perfect and super cute. I used the same yellow that I used in the center of my flowers. I used that as my, for the border stamp there. So I'm just gonna pop all those out. And the nice thing about this die set is that it's got multiple of like the vowels up top. So, you know, a lot of words have multiple E's, and so you don't have to like run it through every time. So now on to the scrapbooking part of this, now that I've got my stamping done. So I am scrapbooking this, there's a few photos of my son Elliot. And I have my journaling over on the other page there. So this year I am working in life crafted albums only. So I'm gonna have a life crafted album for each of my kids, and then like a joint family one, and then I'm gonna have them for like any vacations or anything we take, special events sort of things. I'll have a life crafted album for those too. The Life Crafted albums are a Citrus Twist album. If you're unfamiliar, you can check out their website and see what the album size is and everything. But it's basically a traveler's notebook size album. But they are a 6-ring binder, and they have page protectors in them, and they're amazing. So that's what I'm using here. So this is, I'm going to have one page with a couple of these little photos here. And then I'm going to have a journaling card that's just going to be hole punched and put in the album. And then I have my journaling on the reverse side. So this page, I started out by just wrapping some baker's twine around my page. And then I'm just going to tuck in these flowers like they're kind of cascading down the page underneath my photos. The photos, the story is like about my son and his little sweet smile, and how he asks for things now. If you're unaware, Elliot has a mild speech delay. He's in speech therapy. He's gotten a lot better with when he asks for things, but he still is like, he'll demand things at first, like, I want a sauce, or I want juice, or, you know, something like that. And so I always have to remind him, how do we ask for things? And then he says, can I please has a sauce, or can I please has a juice? So that's kind of what the layout is about, is that him, and then sometimes he adds like these little goofy smiles in, and so it's kind of just about like him getting better with his words and that sort of thing. There's like a little interview I did with him that's included in the journaling. So it's quite a bit of journaling you can see on that reverse page, and a few pictures that I took of him on the same day after I did the little interview with him. So I've got the one page, I have all my flowers placed how I want them. I'm going to work on this journaling card. I went ahead and just adhered down the photo on the journaling card, and then I'm going to add in some of the flowers just kind of tucked in underneath. So I'll add one of these little flowers and one of these little leaves just tucked in there. And that's kind of the placement of where that's gonna go. And then I'm looking at some other embellishments, so it's not strictly stamps on here. And so I've got some little puffy stickers. These are heart puffy stickers from Citrus Twist. And I'm just gonna place those kind of around the page. I'm sticking with kind of the blue and yellow and green color scheme here. And I'm gonna also bring in some stickers. These are Maggie Holmes Sunny Day stickers. I thought about sticking an ice cream cone on there because there's something about ice cream in the journaling, but I decided against it and decided to add in some of these little birds instead. I wanted to bring in some more black and white since I had the black and white twine, and obviously the journaling is black and white as well. So I add in some little black and white birds, and then these little leaves are like little, they look like little line drawings almost. So I tuck a couple of those in around my page too. And then I think I thought about like a little word sticker. I looked at like placement of that, and I ended up deciding against that, so that'll go back. But on my journaling page, it's looking kind of empty, like where there's like that little interview that I did with Elliot, because it's just like a question answer type part. So it's kind of blank, like in that there's like a big empty spot on that page. See how it's kind of empty over there? So I thought I'd fill that up with a little embellishment cluster. So I had this leftover flower, and then of course I have these alphas. So I used the flower, and then I'm put the little an E there since it's obviously about Elliot. And then I decided that I wanted to use these label stamps from the Ton Stamps as well. So I'll get to show you how those work too. So I was like kind of looking at this and like, oh, it needs something else. And I decided it needed more green. I didn't really want to stamp more leaves because that would have taken too long. So I was like, well, I'll stamp some of these labels in green. And I wish I would have gone with the lighter green, but I went with the darker green. But I think it turns out fine. But I think if I was to do this again, I would have gone with the medium green instead of the dark green. But again, I'm just like too lazy. I don't want to have to redo things. So these labels are super cool. It's all one sheet. You stamp them out, and then there's a die that just goes over all of them and cuts them all out. So then you have like a million labels, and you can have labels in every color and every shape, and I love them. So I got those stamped out, and then I'm gonna go ahead and cut those out on my die cutting machine, which you don't really need to watch because you know how that works. And then here I am just popping them all out to use on my page. So the flower stamp, going back to the flower stamp, there are two versions of it. There's a card making version and there's a scrapbooking version. I got the scrapbooking version because I am not a card maker, I am a scrapbooker. And it's got really cool little phrases like currently and watching and listening. And so you can kind of like prompts for your scrapbooking, which I thought was really cool. So I ended up picking my favorite. That's what the phrase is that I'm going to stamp down here. So it says my favorite because my little interview I'm doing with Elliot is about his favorite things, like what's your favorite food and what's your favorite color. So I did my favorite, stamped it on one of these little labels, and then I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down. But I'm kind of trying to decide what label I want to use. I ended up going with this one because I didn't think the green was as bold. I know I wanted green in that area, but because I went with the darker green, it was almost like too dark when it was one of the bolder labels. But this one wasn't as bold. And so I stamped as far over on the left side of the label as I could, and then stuck it down and trimmed off the edge of it. Then I grabbed another puffy sticker, added that on top of the E, and then I'm going to add some baker's twine. I'm just going to wrap it around this label, and then I used my tiny attacher and kind of stapled it on there too, just to give it a little bit more texture and to bring that twine over to the reverse page as well. And I think that's pretty much how it's looking. Do I add anything else? Nope, I'm just going to go ahead and, this is my Life Crafted album, so that's what they look like if you haven't seen one before. And then I'm just trying to decide where I want that journaling card to go. I'm taking my hole punch. This is from Hobby Lobby, and it's a 6-hole punch, so you can you know, line it up so it fits whatever album you're using. So I just lined it up and punched it where I wanted it. And there's my finished layout. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below, and hopefully I will get back to you. And I will have links to all the other people involved in this YouTube hop down in the description box. Thanks for watching. Bye.